back in 2005. And the town went at that time to Congressman Sue Kelly looking for a grant to replace the water line. And even though she worked hard on it, got close to it, it didn't materialize. And then when Congressman John Hall got in office, the day he opened his office, Ken and I, Ken Newbold and myself, who co-chair Water and Sewer, we went to his office. They cut the ribbon. We did all the glad handing, had our cake and cookies. And then Ken and I went in and spent about 30 minutes with the congressman. And evidently we were both very persuasive because he said, I will do all I can do to follow up on what was started by Congressman Kelly. And we said, well, we don't want 350, we want 450,000. And he said, well, I'll do my best. And ultimately, he got $400,000. Now, I talked to Dennis Kaplicki, who was the attorney for the town, and we started going back in history. And that's probably the largest single grant that the town has ever gotten, short of the $1 million grant that we got for trails, which we've got to match and this and that, and which may never come to pass. We don't know, based on the amount of money that we have in our coffers today and the other priorities. But on this one, it was $400,000. And I did a little calculation on 163 homes. That's $2,343.56 per home. And if you amortize that over 20 years, because we have a 20-year mortgage on this line replacement, that could be double. I mean, I'd have to go to the accounting people like Bill Standish to talk about that. But this was a significant savings to the people in that subdivision. So for that, we're very, very grateful for all the people in Congress and elsewhere. But I would like to do some thanking, because I'd like to thank the board for allowing Ken and I to do this. Because before we go out for grants, we get the consensus of the board it's a worthwhile thing. I would certainly like to thank Ken for his going with me and participating. I'd also like to thank Ken firsthand for, once we got the money, he followed up on the installation in the field. He had the time and he did it. And so he spent a lot of hours out there making sure that things, resolving problems, things like that. I would also like to thank Bill Standish. Bill Standish is our budget officer for the town of Goshen. And I don't know how many hours he spent filling out forms, but you know, when you go through these kind of things, and we had a unique problem. The job was finished by the time we got the grant. And that put it in a whole different arena of protocols to follow to get the money. And that's why it's taken so long. And so Bill filled out these forms many times. And he worked with the chief of the federal EPA in New York City region, John Mello, Mr. Mello. And Mr. Mello's been up here 2 or 3 times to help us with this, fill out the forms. It was not an easy task. So my hat's off to Bill. And I'm going to have him talk in a moment about what he's going to do with the money for us. I'd also like to thank Luke Pella and Steve Andershak and the employees of the DPW. Because when we were digging up this road, month in, month out, with all these waterline breaks, they destroyed the infrastructure at Hamiltonian Park down in that section A. The road was like going through a cow path. Bad shape. So we took almost our full road budget for 2007 and spent the majority of it on Hamiltonian Park. And I think the fellows did a nice job out there at making nice smooth again and restoring what was once a nice thing that was destroyed by these waterline breaks. There's a fellow named Frank and another fellow named Evan who were in John Hall's office. They got repeated calls from me and from Ken, and visits by Ken, visits from Dan Matteo and others, and calls. So where's the money? Where's the money? And they would do their best to find out where it was and get back with it. In that same vein, I want to talk about the people who are living out there in Hamiltonian Park, who I appreciated their input with the congressman's office. And with us with the putting the road down, and with us with putting the pipe in and communicating with people on a lot of issues. Dan Matteo, particularly, he's kind of the self-ordained mayor out there in that subdivision. Melissa Gallo, John and Abby Grassier, John Mungo, Howard Unger, Beverly Daly, Kathy Whisker, Carol Quinn, and a lady named Morrow. Sorry, I don't know her last name. But these are names that these are people who communicate amongst the group out there and made this thing go easier. So, but the good news is the pipe is in. We've not had a water line leak in that section since it was put in. The money was well spent, well deserving. And I'd like to, again, thank everybody. This is one where you start from scratch, and you go all the way through the paving of the road, and it's done. So, for whatever it's worth, that's where we're at on that one.
Before you go anyplace,
Yes.
You forgot to thank yourself. When I go to see John Hall, he say, "Oh, I just spoke to Mr. Bloomfield." So don't sell yourself short. The community should know that he was on the phone almost weekly. And Legislator Tom Balky weekly calling the Congress. There were a lot of people making sure the Congress didn't forget the town of Goshen. So don't pat yourself on the back and do a great job.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. Back when Sue Kelly lost her election and John Hall took over, before he took over and we didn't think we were going to get the money anymore, many people don't know this, but Doug was going to hop on a plane and go down to Washington, D.C. at his own expense to make sure this was taken care of, and I won't forget that.
Well, there's another guy.
He doesn't.
Hey, there's another guy who's going to go with
I know,
me. And
Phil-
it was
I
Phil
think Phil-
Cantorino, who was then the commissioner of finance.
So,
And his wife's a travel agent, so she was, so she was going to get us some cheap tickets.
Well, we know he's telling a bark on a tree, so he probably was hitchhiking. Keep it.
Yeah, sure, please, Dan.
I'd just like to take a moment to make some acknowledgements too. I'd like to thank this board. Okay, you guys have been great, the effort that you put into this. Where's Bill?
Right back there, we're going to have to talk in a moment.
Bill, going in his office, going over the numbers with us, putting all the time that he gave us at Hamiltonian Park. And Kenny, the effort that you put in. And I know, Doug, the amount of time that you put in yourself. A lot of people didn't see it, but I saw it. I know that as soon as John Hall got elected, you were down there in his office, you were down there with Kenny, and you guys really went to bat for us, and Hamiltonian Park, and we thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, really, truly, thank you very much.
Just one more story, because he jogged my memory. Not only was Doug on top of us, him and I went down for his swearing-in ceremony. And first, Mr. Hall, can I speak with you? So he just took his hand off the Bible, and Mr. Bloomfield and myself were there saying, "Can we have a moment with you?" And that's when we made our appointment.
Yeah. But it's true. It is true. And the other thing is, don't put grants in the mail. If you don't explain them, you're not going to get them. And we don't put grants in the mail unless they're these generalization type of ones. But Bill, could you come up and take this mic and tell us how you're going to use that money? Because he did say it's in the bank. He saw it with his own little beady eyes.
The money is, in fact, in the bank. I verified that with the bank, saw the credit to our account with my own eyes, so the money is there. By standards of that grant, it must be used only to pay off the debt. And we have 3 bond anticipation notes. The first one was in January, the second one I believe May, and the third one December. Well, we've gone past January and May of this year, so we're up to the third one this year. That third one is due December 18th. It will be paid off. It is a callable note, which means we can pay it off early and save a little interest, but by bank criteria, we have to give them 5 business days to acquire the information and work up the closeout and the interest amount. So I don't know what the interest will be on it, it'll be a little less than what it would have been if we'd been paying it in December.